to Wicklow to enjoy our beautiful, beautiful garden county. So it was that in mind then that we wanted to look and address as a company wellness in our community. So the forest bathing initiative and programme was born from that. So although I suppose you look and say this is a very, very simple concept, but it has such a beautiful, long, deep-reaching impact. For those of you who haven't had a walk before, you're going to so much enjoy this. I was absolutely thrilled over the summer to join Shirley and the guys when they were training, and I came away just saying, oh my God, I want more of this in my life. So again, it's so amazing to be here today for the guys, the 12 new guys, to be fully trained. When we put the programme together, it wasn't actually just the forest bathing we wanted to address. We wanted this programme to have really long, deep outcomes as well. So they've all been fully trained in first aid and also in business entrepreneurial thinking. So we hope that this programme is going to, it's giving the guys the best shot, really, at making really Wicklow the brand, a really strong brand in forest bathing. And we do hope, as we have such beautiful, abundant forestry here, that it will become the centre of forest bathing in Ireland. So that's enough for me, I think. I'm going to hand you over now to our CEO, Brian Carty, just to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Eva. I've got my glasses back on now, so I can actually see everyone. Because one of the downsides of wearing a mask is my glasses steam up. But anyway, that's a side issue. So I'm delighted to be here today. It's not lost on me that COP26 is on this weekend. And it's also not lost on me that this event is being organised as we're in the midst of the pandemic. And we're also conscious, well I'm certainly conscious, as is the team with the County Wicklow Partnership, about the social isolation and the mental health impacts of COVID. And also about the fact that this was an opportunity in many respects for people to reconnect with nature, that the distractions of pre-COVID life were suddenly stopped and silenced for a few short months. And we were very conscious within the leader programme and also within the company at large that we needed to be proactive in terms of how we engage with the challenges people were facing. And Evelyn came to me there, well over a year ago now, Evelyn, at this stage, with the concept of forest bathing. And I didn't know what forest bathing was. I had perceptions of what it was. So I did some research in relation to it. And I said this is something that actually we could connect with and meaningfully engage with people on. And the journey started. We prepared the application. Shirley Gleeson then became part of the family as part of that journey. And reading up on what Shirley has been doing over the last number of years and your work with CCAD, I believe, one of our sister companies in Cork. She's a high degree of experience and talent, I might add, in terms of the learning around the whole forest bathing scenario, along with your colleague Kerry Walker as well, who assisted you in that space. And I remember too when we were presenting the actual project to the evaluation committee, and I see Stephen Fitzgerald is there, who's a member of the evaluation committee, and I also see Catherine Shaw, who's on, Stephen's on the LCDC, the Local Community Development Committee. Catherine Shaw is on the evaluation committee that evaluated the project. Is Monica here? Monica, right, and Monica's there as well, who also evaluated it too. And I know it was a challenge for all of us to get our heads around what the whole concept meant. But once you actually understood it, it's not just about reconnecting with nature, it's about creating headspace for all of us in terms of where we want to be in our lives, and also in terms of connecting with people, not just with nature. And I'm also conscious as well that we have a breadth of other programs within the company, such as our rural recreation scheme. For example, Carol Code, our rural recreation officer, manages the Wicklow Way, which many of you may not know. So there are other connections that we can build on in terms of the forest bathing experience. And I'm also conscious too as well that while we're acknowledging 12 individuals here who've gone through the programme, this is the start of a journey, to use that catchphrase, but it's a meaningful reference point because this is the Garden of Ireland, and it makes sense that we are a kind of a centre of excellence, if you like, in terms of forest bathing, for obvious reasons, because of the nature that's around us. And this setting, in particular, kind of encapsulates that. But I'm also conscious too, as well, that this journey didn't happen just with one individual or one group. That there's a host of players in this space. Not only obviously the 12 participants who've gone through the journey, but I'm also conscious of the work that Shirley has done in terms of bringing it all together, and Kerry. I'm also conscious of the work of the evaluation committee represented by Catherine and Monica here today in terms of reviewing the project application. I'm also conscious of the local community development committee, which gave final approval to the application, represented by Stephen here today. And I'm also conscious that the original concept was in Evelyn's head. And I want to acknowledge Evelyn's work in that space, because this would not be happening only but for that concept that originated from Evelyn. But there's a host of players that will be joining that journey as we progressed along into that space. So, like, I know I've got 7 or 8 hours more to fill, so I'm going to try and slow down the pace of the tone of my voice and just carry it through until about 6 or 7 this evening. That is a joke. I'm not very good at jokes. They kind of fall flat in their face most of the time anyway. Like myself, I'm not wearing my glasses. But anyway, neither here nor there. But I just wanted to acknowledge the space that we're in, and I think it's very timely, not only in the context of COVID, in the context of mental health, in the context of COP26, which is happening in the next day or so. And it brings to the fore the importance of climate change, mental health, well-being, all kind of coming together in one big mix in a very positive way. And certainly as a company we want to be part of that going forward as well. So without further ado, I know we have a programme here of activities. There'll be a little bit way to go now before Evelyn will present the certificates. So Shirley, I'm going to hand over to you. Also, Entrepreneurs Academy, I've got to thank them as well. They're a part of the journey too. You can cover everything. Excellent. So Shirley, over to you. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. So it's great to see such a fantastic turnout this morning. I suppose when I started on my forest bathing, forest therapy journey about 7 years ago, I went over to the US to train. Everyone thought I was mad. What are you doing? You know, is that not just a walk in nature? And I suppose the reason that I started on this journey was I worked in social work for about 20 years. I worked in health promotion, I worked in child protection, I worked in mental health, and I always saw the power of nature to support people with their trauma, with their grief, and to really help them during difficult times. So I knew that there was other ways of working that were outside the health system, that you could bring in nature, and I think, you know, we have such a special connection to the landscape here, you know, from our, you know, Celtic traditions, and there's a lot of healing in the landscape, you know, there's a lot of beauty in the landscape. So when I started, I think I was the first guide in Europe to train. I came back, nobody knew what I was doing. Still don't know what I'm doing. But so it's fantastic to see this programme being funded today, and really thanks to Brian and Evelyn for that. So I'll say a little bit about forest bathing, what it is. First of all, does anyone know anything about forest bathing? Just put up your hand, get a sense. Okay, good, yeah. So the practice originated in Japan. It's called Shinrin-yoku, which literally means you're bathing your senses in the atmosphere of the forest. So it's not just a traditional walk in nature, it's about really soaking up, you know, the forest aerosols, the compounds that the trees give off. They emit these phytoncides, which are chemicals that when we inhale, it helps reduce our stress, it helps reduce our blood pressure, so it has really positive benefits. So there's not only the physical health benefits, but there's also the psychological health benefits. I think we've really seen that in the last 2 years, that we've had nature to turn to when everything else was closed, and people really got solace from nature. So the forest bathing is not just about nature connection, but it's also about social connection. So when we work with groups, we ask them, what are you noticing, to reflect a little on their experience, and that helps to bond them as well. So it's a very meaningful experience. So it's a very slow, mindful walk where we engage our senses, and we do different activities in nature, and then we ask people to reflect on it. And generally the reports we get, people see nature in different ways. They're really calm, it helps them sleep better, and they just really appreciate what's on their doorstep. So Just wanted to say thank you as well to Dermot McAree, who's down the back, because Dermot has supported me all along, and Dermot is one of the directors of Crown, Trees for Ireland, and he's on the UN Specialist Green Jobs Committee in Geneva. And so like this work is really happening on so many levels, even within Europe. There's a number of European projects we're involved in around nature-based enterprise, around green jobs, around nature-based solutions, and forest bathing fits into all those categories in terms of ecotourism and eco-wellness. So, it's not just we're taking people out on a walk, even though walking is very important. It's a different experience. We're trying to build, I suppose, build a community, but also build new ways of working, build new enterprises and support people in those nature-based enterprises. So I think today will be important maybe to form some partnerships. So if there's anyone in the audience that are interested in working with the guides, in partnerships, or in other areas of ecotourism that are interested in connecting, make sure you come up and talk to the guides and myself. So I think, just to give you an example of what's happening in other countries and what I would love to see from Ireland. So this week, the International Conference on Forests and Public Health are happening, and there was a fantastic presentation in Germany where they've actually designated specific curative and healing forests that have specific properties in the landscape, and they've trained guides to work in those forests. So, wouldn't it be fantastic if we had some of them in Wicklow, if we had some of them in Ireland? A really important issue as well is around social inclusion, and that we don't exclude anybody. We need forest bathing to reach the people that need it. We need forest bathing to reach the people that can't pay for it. It's really important that the guides can make a sustainable living, but there's also inclusion as well as getting into the people in the community that need it most. So I think I'm just going to pass over now to Rosalind. She's one of our guides. And just thank you everyone for being here today. She'll talk a little bit about the vision for forest bathing in Wicklow.
Well, good morning everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. So my name is Rosa Vinda and I'm one of the 12 guides, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about the training that we've had, how we came to the program, and then literally about past, present and future. So the training, what's happening now and what we'd like to see happening in the future. So we are 12 different people from various walks of life and also different backgrounds. And we came to a point in March this year where we saw an ad about the forest bathing training. And we have people from, as I said, different backgrounds. So we have people with strong nature connections, foragers, people working in forest schools, we have people who are tour guides. Some of us lost our jobs due to COVID. And we all found ourselves at a crossroads. But we all had something in common, and what we had in common was our love for nature and particularly forest. And we all have a connection with Wicklow. So when we saw that ad, we responded, and we were obviously delighted to be selected for the program because the interest was very high. So we've gone through a training program of different aspects, about 15 weeks of how to set up your own business with the Entrepreneurs Academy, which was on Zoom. So as many of you know, that was a bit challenging at times, but it was very helpful. We had our forest bathing training with Shirley and her colleague Kerry, both on Zoom and also in Wicklow for a few days, and that was over the space for a couple of months. And we had first aid training, because obviously when you're working with a group of people in nature, anything can happen, so it's important to be safe. So we're now at this point, we have completed our training, completed our assignments, and we're here now, which we're obviously delighted about, and we love to show you what forest bathing is, kind of after all the speeches, and we'll take you out on a walk. And that's today. But then what about the future? Obviously, Evelyn, Brian and Shirley have talked about Wicklow as a county. It's the garden county, it's the county that we want to share with people, both within Wicklow, within Ireland, but also internationally. So we'd love to create more opportunities to share the beautiful nature that we have here with groups, with individuals, to make people see what we have right on our doorstep. Because the thing is, with climate change and all the threats to nature, people protect what they love, but a lot of people may not necessarily know what's right here. So that's our aim, to work together. We love to collaborate with hotel owners, with landowners, with anybody working in the tourism sector, or anybody else in the health sector as well. So we can share that beauty with them and that healing that comes from spending time intentionally in nature. As a group of guides, we've worked well together, and we very much look forward to working more together to share ideas, to encourage each other, to build each other up, because we're all dotted across the county and we work on our own a lot of the time. So it's really, really helpful to have that network of people, and that we're there for each other, whether it's on WhatsApp or in person, or any other way. So yes, that's just a little bit about Forest Baby from a guide's perspective. Obviously, I'd like to say thank you so much to Peter, Evelyn, to Brian, to Shirley, to Kerry, everybody else that's made this happen. Because we didn't know what would be possible, but we're here now. So we're so thankful for that. And just to express our gratitude, and I have a little something on behalf of guides. And this is one of our guides, Sarah Mason, is an artist, and she's made these beautiful. So I'll give one to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Cheers. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. It's absolutely stunning, and thank you, Sarah. You're such a talented artist. So I think we get on to the main event, which is the presentation of the certificates. So we're going to invite Brian and Shirley we're going to present them now. So our very first guide, originally from the Netherlands, from Avonmore Forest Bathing. She moved to Ireland for a deep love of nature. So Catalin, yes.
Congratulations, Catalin.
Thank you.
Okay, don't forget to frame that.
I will.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And next we have Courtney Tyler from Hips and Hopes Wild Crafts. Congratulations, Courtney. Courtney is our expert forager.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Thanks, Courtney.
Next we have Shirley Fitzpatrick from Broscabera, our mobile sauna from the Glenmalure Valley. Congratulations. And followed by Aisling Plunkett from Arc Healing, yoga, meditation and well-being teacher. Ciara Hintzman from Forest School Ireland. And we have Ed from TP Adventures Ireland. And Rosalind, a lovely life coach and nature lover. Congratulations. Jake. Is Jake here with us? Or is he? No, he's not here. Okay. And we have the absolute superb Catherine Nunes, the founder of the Shaking Bog Nature Writing Festival. Sarah Mason, her stunning artist, Central Artistic Arts. We have Amanda Marin, Health and Wellbeing Coach. So that's it. We have two guys who couldn't be with us today, Jake and Andrew. So just to reference, you did get a little flyer on your seat there. So all our guides, as well as being fully trained, are represented on their own standalone website, which is wicklowforestbathing.ie. So there's a lovely little synopsis of what everybody is doing there as well, and how you can contact them and make your booking with them. So from here, we are now going to, I'm going to invite you all at a little wee while to go on our lovely forest bathing walk. But just to put us in the mood and to set us up, we would like to invite Jane Clark.
Thanks very much, and it's lovely to be here today, really essentially celebrating trees. What better? My second collection is called When the Tree Falls, and it's primarily about the death of my father. And these first two poems, I'm just going to read 3 poems, but the first 2 poems are from when we were nursing him at home in the last 2 months of his life. And he loved trees, he was a farmer, and he gave me his love of trees, planting trees. Dad taught us that paper comes from trees, and the word for book comes from beech. He showed us the olive grey bark, smooth as river rocks, how to tell the light hues of young wood from the gloom of the old, and how to count the rings, starting at the centre, working out towards the edge. He's unable to move from his bed, but when we ask about the row of beech beside the bridge, he's clear as a bell. My father's father's father planted them, a shelter bed for a nursery when the British were giving grants for planting trees. Tomorrow, I get dressed. We go down to see them again. Thank you. And I suppose just to say, like what Shirley was saying earlier, obviously trees are so important in our landscape, they're important for biodiversity, they're important in so many ways, and they're important for our inner lives, and they help us make sense of the joys and the sorrows of life. So another poem from that time, Cypress. Falling in and out of sleep all night, he suddenly struggles to sit up. Will you open the curtains so we'll see the dawn when it comes? He gazes out at the cypress that in his lifetime grew higher than the house. A tree that survived every winter's wind, its trunk ridged as a raised bed ready for seed, feathered foliage set to sprout flower bulbs, exposed roots worn bare as bones, branches touching the ground, forming a haven, a tree to sit in, quiet, waiting. Thanks very much, and just before I read the last poem, just to wish all the forest bathing guys the very best. It's really important work that you're doing, and I know it will make a difference in lots of people's lives. So this last poem, it's about a tree in County Roscommon that fell into the River Suck, but I wrote it, I was inspired by a walk in the ancient woodland of Clara Vale, no better place for a walk. So it was there that I got the words to write the poem about a tree in Roscommon. And I guess this poem is really, it's about the cycle of trees, how they can help us understand living and dying. When the tree falls into the river, it slows the current. Water pools in the hollows it makes. Pike and trout find a new place to hide. Beetles, mayfly and mice feed on leaf litter. The mossy trunk lies still as a bridge. A kingfisher settles, watches for minnow. Branches reach for the light, noble with evil.